welcome to another episode of Let's Chat With. I'm here with conjurer, liar, magician, Billy Kidd. So how you doing today, Billy?
I'm just normal today.
So you are a magician who also is a street performer. How are you handling the pandemic concerning street performances?
I haven't done a street show in a very long time, even before the pandemic. So I'm handling it okay, I guess. I've been working in other areas at the moment.
Okay, how did you get started in magic?
In magic, I was at a street festival working with a theater company. I saw a street magician by the name of Nick Nicholas, and he was the first magician I ever saw. I did not know what was going on. I just knew I was obsessed, and he basically told me to get the Royal Road to card magic and go from there. And I just did exactly what Nick told me, and pretty much overnight, I decided to become a magician.
You were born in Edmonton, Alberta, now live in England. Why the move?
For the weather, for one. Many reasons. Yes, the weather. I wanted a place where I could street perform, so I knew anywhere in Canada was not going to be feasible for me because of the weather. I needed somewhere where there's lots of tourists, which again is not in Canada. And yeah, I decided. I came to England visiting a friend, and I saw a pitch and I was like, no one's working here. This is where I'm going to start my career. So I left everything, came to England, and just made a living off the streets to start.
You performed a trick once with a Canadian coin for the Discovery Channel's Breaking Magic. You said you carried it around as a reminder of home. Do you still carry it around?
No, that was all bullshit. That's just script that they wrote for that one specific trick, because at that time, Canadian coins were only magnetic, but not anymore. So no.
Last year, you came back to perform at some festivals. I had the luck of seeing you perform and host at the end of February during an event at the Burlington Comedy Festival.
Oh, wow.
At the end of the show, I told you how much I loved it, and then you shook my hand while we were thanking me for coming. What's it like doing a show like that and hearing from people after the show?
It's always a good thing, I guess, if people like what they've seen or like the work that you've done. Yeah, Burlington Comedy Festival. That was like one of my last gigs just before the pandemic, in fact.
Yes.
That was a lot of fun, also because it's a comedy fest, which is mostly stand-up comedians, and then there was me and a couple other variety artists. So we were a bit in awe of the comedians, and they were kind of in awe of what we do, because it's very different, even though it's somewhat similar. But it's always nice to get feedback from an audience right away.
You have been on many TV shows like Wizard Wars, where you create magic using items you've never seen before. Did that show help you expand and evolve your magic skills?
Completely, yes. That show made me braver in the magic that I do, and it pushed my boundaries to the extreme. To this day, I would say Wizard Wars was the most stressful TV show I will have ever done. I don't think anything will ever compare to that show, and yeah, nothing but grateful for that show, for sure. It really was like a war.
What was it like when CBC called you for the nature of things and asked you to be part of their episode called Signs of Magic?
That was yeah, everything I've done on television has been very random and strange. People somehow find me and then just go, do you want to do this? And then I battle going, is it worth it or not? But that was actually a fun project, because we filmed that in London. And we just happened to have this connection with the producers and the director and Julie Yang as well, who was the host of that documentary. So yeah, that actually, I remember it clearly. I was traveling wherever in the world, and I literally had that weekend off in London to film for them. So it just worked out perfectly. So that was quite fun.
Yes, and on a bunch of shows like that one and The Greatest Magician, you've performed the bean trick, the three beans. Why are you always so fascinated with the three beans?
I have many different versions of that routine. So the routine I did on ITV for Next Great Magician was my trapeze routine, which was the first routine I ever came up with, but that originally was a card trick. And because on television they like to stay away from cards, we had months to prepare. So me and the producers, we were trying to figure out what would be best. And I've always been interested in Ramsey's four bean trick, so we kind of adapted it to my old trapeze act. But reality is that I don't do a trapeze act in my show all the time, because it's just not logical to do. but I do more of a close-up version of the bean trick. I just love it because it's just a little piece of history of magic that not a lot of people do, or when they do, it's mostly like a comedy bit, and I think I've changed it quite a lot from most people who perform it.
Also, you performed on Masters of Illusion. What's it like being chosen as a Master of Illusion for that show?
What's it like? Say that
Being
again.
chosen as a Master of Illusion, like being called that.
I would
'Cause that's what
never.
the show.
I never take it seriously. No, I would. Nah, you can never call yourself a master, I don't think. So yeah, I just take it with a grain of salt, going, all right, if that's what you want to call the show, then that's what you think we are. But we all know that is not true.
You recently received the 2021 International Rising Star Award from the Slave Family Foundation. What was that like for you?
It was a complete shock and surprise. I had no idea that was happening. It was, to be honest, a bit stressful. I really ummed about even accepting it. So I've got dues to pay for my acceptance. Totally grateful, but yeah, it felt weird. Weird is the best thing I can say about it.
I know you said before that you haven't done much street performance lately, but do you have any advice for someone that wants to get into street performance and use their magic as well?
Yeah, the best advice would just be to just don't listen to anybody, not even me, and go out and do it. It's the only way you're going to learn is by hitting the streets and doing it for you. There's only so much you can do in front of your mirror and practice at home for your friends and family. That only goes so far. But not even street performing, just any magician who wants to perform in general has to go out and perform for real people. And it's hard because we have two worlds of magic. We have the magic industry where people do conventions or magic theaters, and then there's the real working world where you perform in real theaters, or what corporate functions or television or whatever it might be. And I think those types of venues are more valuable to a magician or performer in order to grow. Otherwise, you're just used to performing for magicians all the time or your friends and family. So you just have to go out and do it.
You're not only a magician, but a musician who plays an unusual instrument called the nose flute. What is the nose flute, and why did you get interested in that?
The nose flute is an ancient instrument that originates all over the world in different countries like Hawaii, Philippines, Borneo, etc. And it's an instrument that you play with your nose. It's a flute. It's an ancient instrument that you blow through your nose. And there's many different reasons why people played the nose flute. A lot of it was, in some countries, was to gently wake up the kings. Sometimes it was used for courting or headhunting or helping make the rice grow. I fell into the nose flute kind of by accident when I was younger. Someone introduced it to me. I thought it was a toy, and then I dug a little bit deeper into it and realized it was an actual ancient instrument. Then I visited a bunch of ethnomusicologists who taught me a little bit more about it, and I gathered a group together and trained a bunch of people how to play the nose flute. So it was kind of a side project in my younger days.
A couple of years ago, the group that you had got together and did a music video. What was that like?
Oh, that was fantastic. We've always wanted to do a music video way back. We were like pre-YouTube when we existed. And I'm quite proud of my ensemble because before YouTube or really the internet, I was sending out VHS tapes and handwritten letters to companies to market us. And I have to say, they were so good that we had David Letterman, Jay Leno, Ellen DeGeneres, like everyone was trying to contact my group. We were educating people as far as Japan and England and all over the world, really. So we've always choreographed and done our performances in the past as if it was a music video. So I had a couple weeks off a couple years ago, and I just rallied up the troops, and we did a music video finally of one of our old recordings that we recorded probably when I was about 16. So it was kind of nice. It was a little reunion, you could say.
The CBC had a show called the On the Road Again with Wayne Ronstadt, which had an episode about you and the nose flute. What was that like?
That is so long ago in my head. We did a lot of television, my nose flute ensemble. We did a lot of shows. It was fun. It was great. It was weird because it wasn't ever really a career choice to become a nose flautist. But it was fun to educate people, and it taught me a lot about marketing. When I jump ahead to becoming a magician, I learned a lot on how to do that and what gets people's attention from my nose flute ensemble. but yeah, it's such a long time ago. It feels like a million years doing that. So it's weird to look back at that footage.
So when you first started out as a magician, would you ever think that you would be where you are today?
No, not at all. No, I don't really think, I don't even right now think ahead like, oh, what's my ambition or in 5-year plan type of thing. I don't think like that. I kind of go, I'm so grateful to even be doing this as a job that I've always said, if I'm here the next 24, 48 hours still doing magic, then that is my ultimate success.
What advice would you have now? If you could look back and go back to your early days, what would you say to your younger self?
I would say to my
Related
younger
magic?
self, yeah, if I could go back to the early days before magic or anything like that, I'd tell myself, how did you know? I was very determined when I was younger. I always knew what I wanted to do. I always did what I wanted. I'd never listened to anybody, and everything's kind of worked according to my young brain plan, I guess. So no changes.
What is the one trick that you like to perform the most out of your
Oh,
stuff that you do?
that's a really tricky one because I only do effects that I really love to do. If I start doing a routine where I'm getting bored of it for whatever reason, I take it out of the show right away. But I'm a big fan of cards. I really love sleight of hand. I really love card magic. Obviously my show is not all cards because that would just bore an audience, but yeah, anything with cards really. I honestly couldn't pick one routine that I do saying that's my favorite.
Yeah, I'm the same way because
They all are, right?
yeah, I'm mostly cards, and I have the same thing. I'm the same way as with you. I like cards a lot, though.
Yeah. Lately, I've
Just
been having a lot of fun doing, I do Cy Enfield's Cards to Pocket. So that's been quite fun because just interacting with an audience again, coming up with new bits and pieces with that. I do an oil and water routine, which is a combination of Tamara's and Hollingworth. And yeah, it all comes down to the presentation for me. But if I could do one thing only in magic, it probably would be cards.
yeah, same here with me. I came up with my own trick recently where I got a deck of cards where it has musicians on it, right?
Okay.
Musicians on it, and I got a list of them on my iPhone, right? And pretend I'm like playing, pick a card, force the card, and then I try to guess like, oh, this is the person on your card. And then I go, while they're saying yes, like 20 questions type of thing. And then I go, wait a second, is this yours? And then I play the thing off my phone. And I go, that's you. And they go, yes, it is. And they have never shown it to me. So I try to do that one. And where can people find you online? What's coming up for you?
Online, well, my website, billykidshow.com, or you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at billykidshow. I don't really advertise a lot of my shows unless they are public. I run a magic theater and I don't even advertise that to magicians. I'm pretty private. I like being in my own little dark corner. Mostly because I don't like audiences of magicians, having said that. So anything public, I will post about if it's specifically for the public, but a lot of my work is kind of private, I want to say.
So you do a lot of traveling. Where's your favorite place you've been?
Favorite place I've been or favorite place I've performed in?
Either one.
I would say favorite place I've been and performed in, Italy is always up there for some reason. I love performing in Italy. Also anywhere in Southeast Asia, not even mostly for performance. I really rate countries by their food a lot. Turkey is another one of my favorite places to perform and visit, again because of the food, but I also really like the people there. Yeah, I would say Italy, Turkey, and anywhere in Southeast Asia.
I recently saw a video that you posted online where you asked Kyle Knight how many S's are in the sentence.
Oh, right.
And you got him with an egg. What was that like?
That was all planned. That's all fake, basically. That was a crazy workshop afternoon where we all just decided to film videos, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. What's it like performing for other magicians, though? What's it like for that?
Terrible, really. I don't know why anyone would want to perform for magicians. I don't think that's what magic was meant to be for, or designed for. But I mean, I do love watching magicians perform. I think we can learn a lot from each other. But there's very few magicians who I like having in the audience because they know how to become like a real punter in the audience, as opposed to putting their magic brain on and, you know, watching with their arms crossed and stuff like that. And also maybe a bit of paranoia. I don't want anyone stealing my routines or my presentations as well. So I try to make my stuff pretty unique to me, where nobody can steal it. And it's another reason why you can't really find a lot of my stuff online, because I don't put a lot of it out there on purpose. I don't want people to know what I do. I'm the worst marketer for myself, because I'm just like, yeah, I'd rather you not know anything. But yeah, I mean, if it's nice to get feedback from fellow magicians who know the routines, or maybe you fool them, maybe you don't, but there's a few magicians in the industry who I would trust enough to go come and watch my show and give me notes. And usually those magicians are ones that I've seen them perform, and I know their sleight of hand skills, and I've seen how they are as performers. So are really the ones I would trust to come and watch.
So getting back to the TV stuff, we've seen a lot of resurgence of television shows like Masters of Illusion, Penn and Teller, and all the stuff on YouTube, Netflix, like with Justin Willem and Big Trick Energy and all that stuff. How do you feel about that? Like all those different shows coming back and stuff?
I think it's great. I think any time magic is on television, it's being exposed to millions of other people, it's good for our industry. It shows that we exist and that we can be different, and it gets people interested in it. And I think it kind of goes through ups and downs, it goes through resurgences and whatnot, and you kind of have to play that game a little bit. But I think any kind of big exposure for magic in that kind of sense is quite good for the industry.
How would you feel if Netflix came by and said, Billy, we would like you to do a special?
I wouldn't say yes initially. Definitely not. I'm the first to say no. Yeah, it's a lot of chat of what would the concept be. Is it something I'd be interested in? Is it something I'd find challenging for myself? There's a lot of questions before I would ever say no to a TV show. I think a lot of magicians would say yes right away, but for me, I'm like, I'm just not interested.
I would say yes, because it'd be exposure for me, but hey.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, but you know, sometimes I think there's a thing like overexposure. I'm also very cautious of doing too much television, because I don't want to be overexposed in some ways. I'm probably backwards than most, but yeah, usually I say no first and foremost.
Well, that's the end of our interview. Well, thank you very much for being here with me today on Let's Chat With.
Great.